Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to DPC. I'm Dan Piepszowski, Director of Community Leadership for Detroit Regional Chamber, and I have the great honor of running the Leadership Detroit program. Let's hear it for all the LD grads are out there. I see a bunch of you out there. Let's go, LD. All right. We're really excited about the opportunity to bring you these panels and conversation throughout the conference today. So, today we're going to talk with Kenyetta Campbell. She's the Executive Director of Cody Rouge Community Alliance. She's a graduate of LD 32. And we have Jessica Hauser, Executive Director of the Downtown Boxing Gym Youth Program. She's a graduate. She's got a crowd out there. She's got a graduate of LD 38. And today's topic, I have an opportunity in the program to see leaders from corporate organizations, from grassroots organizations. And today we're really going to talk about the kind of leadership it takes in small nonprofits to get the job done, and a question about how can that leadership model really be shared with more leaders in this region? And is there that much of a difference between corporate leadership and nonprofit leadership? I tend to think not, watching people go through the program. But we want to talk about that program. We want to talk about that whole idea here as people are making their way through lunch. We'll do the best we can. All right, so Kenyetta, let me just throw this out to you. Talk about, Jessica can go after that. Talk about what you think your biggest leadership challenge is in doing your work with Cody Rouge.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Dan, for having me. I think the greatest leadership challenge that I've experienced is sustainability, and I know we hear that word a lot, but from the ground, building up from the bottom up, it's difficult sometimes because when there's times that there's a pivot and funders change their priorities, it makes it difficult for us on the ground because we have to educate the community, we have to inform them, we have to help make that transition, and sometimes it's difficult, but we make it happen. Yeah.
Jessica.
Yeah, and yes, thank you for having me as well. I was going to say something very similar, is that it is very challenging to have often our most vulnerable population supported by our most vulnerable business model, and that the funding and this idea of sustainability and the inconsistency of support, I think, is very challenging.
Yeah. So let me stick with you, Jess. You've been in the job, what?
11 years.
11 years, yeah. So, going into that kind of work, what do you think your biggest aha was? Like, you didn't expect it to sort of be that way, that you sort of, keep reflecting on?
I mean, I think I've had a couple different ahas. The one on the negative side was really surprising to me, to not have the same respect as any leader in any organization. This idea of, oh, that's so cute, you run a nonprofit. We are running an organization of business that's essential to the community. And my other aha was just this idea of always pushing the boundaries, always pushing the limits, thinking outside of the box to move the needle forward.
Kenyetta, how about you? What do you?
My biggest aha moment is, I come from a youth development background, so I believe truly that youth can lead the work. But it wasn't until recently that I discovered that not only there's corporations who believe the same, but actually the city of Detroit. So they have, for the first time, have been able to partner with our community and allow the youth to actually lead from the front, as opposed to just from the back.
Well, that's interesting. So do you see that as a sense that, like leadership in city government, the mayor's office, are beginning to understand and maybe lean in a little bit more to really sort of get it?
Yeah, I believe that they're listening to communities now. Not saying they never were, but I believe now it's began to foster moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just shift here a little bit, and you have boards, you have corporate leaders on your boards, you're involved in community and fundraising. And when you think about, and you both went through LD, so you had a chance to see corporate leaders. I mean, what do you think are the parts of the leadership challenge, or the parts of the work that corporate leaders share, you share, or what you think maybe as you look at the corporate world and other organizations, what would you hope that they could take away from seeing the way you do your work?
So I would say, and this is really based on feedback that we've received from corporate partners, is one of the main things they learn from us is to really just jump in and start, right? And sometimes there's a habit in when you get into a big corporation of taking a year to make a decision, or, it's this overthinking everything. And in the work that we do, you got to get yourself 51% of the way there and then jump, right? And I think that there's a big learning from our approach and what works and what doesn't work, and vice versa. I absolutely love learning from our corporate partners of how do we push the envelope? How are you using technology to help move the needle? What kind of financial investments, or where are you making financial investments in a way that I think we're often limited to think about?
So, we talk a lot about that, innovation and iteration. I mean, you're doing that all the time. And I think about more leaders at different levels who can learn how to, because I do think it's more challenging in larger structures like that to do that. So maybe talk about how that, that success failure rate, how that shapes your work.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the way we really approach everything in bite-sized pieces and iterate. And for us, it has allowed us to have a very high success rate because we can pivot when things are not working out as we thought, or continue to build on, what is working.
Kenyetta, back to that first question around, the exchange and with corporate leaders and so on and so forth.
I think for me, because I come from the community that I work in, and I understand the importance of listening while doing, but not trying to move ahead of the process. So I think that's something that I've encouraged our corporate partners to make sure that they're listening to the community, because sometimes they'll come from their vantage point thinking that there's things that the community actually needs to do when we are not interested in that. So I think by listening, observing while doing, I think that's been helpful.
And you've had, recently you've got some partnerships going on right now.
Yes.
And how was that dynamic? Maybe the sense was, hey, we're out there dangling the resources, and we got some great ideas about what you should do to a more robust exchange. How's that kind of shaping partnerships right now for you, Cody?
It's been 5 years for the partnership that I have currently with the Skillman Foundation, Quicken Loans, DTE and General Motors. And when it first started, it was an idea. We were in the process of completing a community plan with CDAD. And so the partners approached us and said, okay, we're interested in supporting your community based on the success rate that you've had thus far and having a high number of children in the city of Detroit, and because you were ready for transformation. That allowed us to show them what our plan was, as opposed to them coming and making it from the top down. So they waited for us to complete our community plan. We took the time to look at the plan together, and then each partner then identify areas that they can help us move the needle on.
Jessica, any kind of examples where, maybe the sense was, hey, we got some resources and we think you should do X, Y, Z, and, through partnership and working together, things might have some mutual learning.
Yeah, I think the best partnerships we've had, first of all, I try to approach everything as aligning on a passion level first. I find those to be the most beneficial. And, not just, we always need money, but it's not having that lead, having the passion alignment lead. And from my experience, that really allows us to have a mutually beneficial relationship where, we've had a lot of corporate partners come in, like I said, and learn from our leadership style and our approach, and vice versa. So we have, we've been working with Salesforce and Quicken Loans and some others in a very mutually beneficial way.
So, just kind of thinking outside the box, if you think about a more robust exchange of leaderships, where maybe leaders could move through corporate ranks into nonprofits. Maybe you guys could do a stint in corporate. What would that look like, or how does what could be the benefits of just having a deeper level of maybe respect and collaboration around, what it really takes to get the job done, and at different levels.
I think the best example that I can give is my partnership with General Motors. We had a young lady by the name of Hannah Hoskins. She did a phenomenal job in really understanding where we were at the particular time, and she helped us navigate through the corporate partners to ensure that they were continuing to listen throughout the process. So I was able to gain skills from a nonprofit level and being able to run our business more like a business, not just a nonprofit. I think that's one of the examples that I can give.
Yeah, so you'd be dangerous at GM navigating your way through. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, there are a lot of similarities with startups with, how we have to run our organization. I think those skill sets are transferable. I also think we bring very unique skill sets of really seeing the people that are working on our teams in a different way than in a big corporation. You're one of a million, right? In a nonprofit, if you don't know that person's story, their kid's name, what they're doing, over the weekend, then you are not going to have a successful or happy team. And I think that is a really unique skill set as far as, company culture and how do you grow and expand and really have people bought in and committed to the work.
Talk about maybe even both of you, just the business aspect of running the nonprofits, right? And you're sort of doing it all, soup to nuts. You got technical issues, you got IT, you got HR, and so on and so forth. And what is that like? And where do you reach out to try to get support that you need?
I think for us at the Cody Rouge community, we have been very strategic in making sure that we were partnering with the right folks, number one. Those who really had a passion for community and desire to make change. So we began to recruit certain individuals to be on our board. And that's when we were able to kind of help build our capacity from within. So we have assistants with marketing. We have folks that are helping with commercial development and things like that. So that's been something that's been helpful. And then also being able to have like a fund development team come and be a part of our team to show us different ways of doing business on how we never really thought about it before.
Jess.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, so everything that you said, and also I've really learned over the years what things we can ask volunteers to do and what stuff we just simply have to suck it up and pay for, right? And what can be, a contractor versus somebody I need on staff full time. And what, so for HR, for a long time, when I first started with the organization, there was no money. Now we have, a little over $2 million budget. I didn't need an HR person at first. I could, do that or ask people questions. Now I need an HR person in a different way. And those lessons and the timing and the learning, kind of balancing the finance side of it, I think was huge.
You guys are, you talk about talent. Everybody's looking for talent. And, in both your programs, you're serving youth. And they're looking at you and wondering about their future, right? How can I be a Kenyetta? How can I be in those positions? And so that's a heavy responsibility in terms of giving them a model of professionalism, introducing them to individuals that surround you that kind of show the best of themselves. How do you blending that? Because it is an awesome responsibility.
It's definitely an awesome responsibility, but I guess because I'm from that neighborhood and I've kind of gone through some of the challenges they've gone through in high school and just basically kind of just sharing my story with them and showing them how I was able to, graduate from high school, go off to college and get my master's degree, and then come back to give to my community. And so what we've been able to do is really develop that pipeline of leadership with young people. So we have a youth council, and through that, we're teaching them how to be the next Kenyetta or the next Rebecca or the next Sade, so they can continue to build the solid foundation that we started. And we have hired the young people to work on staff once they graduated from high school or college.
Jess?
Yeah, a lot of similarities to your story. Additionally, we started an apprenticeship program. So for our founder and CEO, we have a young person who's learning and, that talent pipeline from the mission side as well, which has been really powerful. We also pull our parents into a lot of this, right? So we have hired a lot of our parents, which then gets the kids more involved and engaged and understand the back end of how does this work. And really my favorite is just the organic conversations when a kid comes in my office and is like, what do you do, right? Those are the most powerful.
Yeah. So just a couple of angles here. How do you shift? You both talked a little bit about it. You need resources. You guys are constantly looking for resources. How do you stay true to your mission and get those relationships right with your board, with corporate, so that you're you're leveling the playing field, right? You're out there doing the work, and you're a collaborator. And what is that? What is that like? Constantly, and I'll start with Jess this time. What's it like just constantly being mindful of, leveling that playing field and saying, look, we're working together. This is a collaboration.
Yeah. I mean, I think the beauty is you just have to have honest conversations. And if you're comfortable having those honest conversations, it starts to shift that narrative and the power dynamic. I mean, it's not easy. I will say that it like I said, the first thing I said, it does create a pretty unstable business model where if I can't count on, that somebody's going to stick by our side for the next 3 to 5 years, how can I grow the program? Or, that question of sustainability. Well, we won't be sustainable unless you continue to give us money. But I think it's having those conversations and trying to figure out in partnership with funders of how do we do this different, right? Because what's happening is not working. Right.
Ever have to take a board member aside maybe for a little one-on-one conversation?
Oh yeah, we've had those. We've turned down funding. I mean, absolutely.
I think for me, it's you have to be able to say no. And I think a lot of times nonprofits are afraid because of funding, and they feel like, okay, if you don't say no, if you don't take this funding and it's aligned to our mission, then we're going to walk away. Then sometimes you have to just say, you know what, you just have to walk away. Because what happens is nonprofits begin to get into mission creep, and they start doing things that they're not established to do, and then that's pretty much how everything just starts spiraling downward.
So we got a few minutes. So this conference is about the next decade. So let's take it home with this. What's going to happen? What's your dreams from Cody Rouge? What's your dream in the next decade? What do you got? What do you got out there that you're just motivating your staff, your board, everybody around you to aspire for?
So for me, I'm just so excited to see my neighborhood, the Cody Rouge neighborhood, be in a different space in this new decade. I really see it becoming a walkable community, the next sexy neighborhood in the city of Detroit, where we're having thriving commercial corridors, excellent schools, a brand new high school. I would love to see a brand new Cody High School. Continuing to see young people going off to college and coming back and leading in their community. And last but not least, residents being able to sustain their organizations, because we have several associations. I would like to see more of that, being able to kind of move it to the next level. So
I want the east side to get sexy too. I mean, East English Village where I'm at, we definitely got more work to do to get a little more sexy. I love the way you talk about that. Just walkable places where people can thrive. And I'm going to echo that. We've done LD a couple times in Cody. Need a new school. Need a new facility at Cody. It's time. It's time to do it, Detroiters.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's continue to see our kids thrive and graduate from high school and go off to college and graduate from college. But I think really, truly, it's helping to shift this conversation to understand that the work we're doing is not rocket science. We are just providing the support that every kid needs everywhere, and that it should just be a given, and this should not be special per se, right? This should just be what every kid is given, that they are successful and they can pursue their dreams and come back and support the community. That conversation shouldn't be a shocking conversation. So for us, it's to continue to support that, for our kids to live that out, for us to tackle our waiting list, grow and expand,
Any gym 2 in the plans? You pretty well settled with your facility on the east side?
Yeah, we'll see. We get requests from all over the world, so we shall see.
Oh, wow. Wow, exciting. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, the two of you. Appreciate it so much. For the conversation. Round of applause.